Hi, I'm Lucy Simpson. I'm category buyer here at YPO. I just wanted to explain the relationship between YPO and Consultancy Plus. I look after a framework called Managing Consultancy and Professional Services, which Consultancy Plus are the sole managed service provider for. We carried out an ODU compliant procurement process to appoint a single provider to deliver the nationally managed service provision for all types of consultancy or professional service requirements. We have a close working relationship in delivering a solution across the public sector under the framework. The aim of this framework is to allow public sector organisations to source a skill set that is not available within their organisation. A consultant or professional aims to deliver a specific project or statement of work over a set period of time when the skills or specialist knowledge are not available within the contracting authority. Consultancy Plus can utilise their supply chain of consultants and professionals to deliver the service. The framework was created to cover all types of consultants or professionals, and it covers many category areas that you might wish to procure. Some examples are change management, IT and transformation, social care and procurement, but there's many more. Working with Consultancy Plus will allow you to get the right solution to meet your requirements. I'm now going to hand over to Consultancy Plus team, who are going to provide a demo of the system and give some examples of how and when it can be used. Thank you.
Hi all, thanks for watching this video. My name is Lloyd Narte. I am one of the principal consultants here at Consultancy Plus. As mentioned by Lucy, we work very closely with YPO in delivering the Managing Consultancy and Professional Services 940 framework. So similar in our nature to how we engage with contracting authorities within the public sector, our relationship with YPO is really kind of looking at the needs of public sector authorities, really from sort of start to finish. So whether that be sort of looking at scope, whether that's the ways in which they'll engage consultancy and professional service resource, all through to the management and completion of those project requirements. So today's session is really just to go view a visual run through of what that system looks like, and it underpins some of the ways of working with contracting authorities. The three key areas that we'll be looking to highlight and sort of run through today will be supplier engagement. So that's looking at invitation of suppliers, the onboarding process and the opportunity of talent pools. Second being project applications and contracting. So that's looking at the building in of milestones and the opportunity to engage stakeholders via sharing facilities, profiles and submissions, for example. Third aspect, we'll be looking in more detail at milestone and invoice management. So those are the three key areas that we'll be looking to cover. Now, just to preface this, so what we'll go through today is a demonstration. So on the test site, it's just for demonstration purposes only. None of the content within here is a true reflection of any sort of client data. So to start with, this screen that you'll see before you now is the Consultancy Plus view. What I will do at some point during the session is show you the simplified version that will be client facing. So from your perspective, you'll have a very simple, sort of, I suppose, simplified view of what you will need to action and the things that you want to have view of. So the first thing we'll start with is the ability to invite suppliers, or the invitation of suppliers, whether that be mobilizing existing resource, use of a known supplier, or us looking to kind of build a supplier base or talent pool. So if we go into the invite option, that gives us the ability to input the email address for the supplier we're wishing to invite, along with the onboarding template. So depending on what type of resource you're looking to engage, there might be additional security and vetting requirements that you'll ask of us, in which case we can create templates or amend templates to accommodate this. So you might have things such as SC clearance or DBS checks that will need to be implemented into that onboarding process. We'll then send that invite, and the relevant onboarding template will be sent to the supplier to go through that process. In more detail with the templates, as mentioned, we can create a new template or we can amend an existing template. So it might be that the existing template sits well, you might just need to add one or two steps to that process. The third aspect within supplier engagement is once a supplier is onboarded, the phases of that onboarding. So things like general questions, payment details, compliance questionnaire. Compliance questionnaire will cover things such as referencing, eligibility to work, IR35 reference within that also, HMRC checks, etc. We'll have things or further things in place for personal service companies or persons of so PSCs will go through further checks, really as a precautionary sort of example. Things like NI details, passport, proof of address, etc. will be a typical form of that onboarding process. So that hopefully is a quick view of supplier engagement. Now we'll move on to project applications and contracting. So on the screen you'll see presented is a project requirement that is duplicated, simply so you can see this at various stages. Now with this system process, or the process flow of it, it's really designed to mirror a public sector procurement process. So with that, you'll have the opportunity to, once you've submitted information for sort of an RFQ or RFP, you have the phases of sort of clarifications, ITT, and then your sort of usual steps of procurement right through to completion. We do have opportunity to offline sort of do additional sort of measures of presentations. So with the initial step, once we've loaded a project, and I'll show you how we would do this, typically quite self-explanatory. So this is often a task that we'll take and the action on behalf of contracting authorities. For this, it's simply selecting your category, the subcategory it sits within, the title of your piece, and then a description of the piece of work you are looking to carry out, or certainly request proposals from. With this, we can attach any additional files that might support the proposal from suppliers. So this could be anything from sort of project scope, additional sort of information that might center around the sort of detail that will go into that scope, and any sort of formative sort of documents. We will then select the skill sets. So the skill sets are what are key to align projects with only the most suitably aligned and relevant suppliers. You then have the option of ongoing, one-off, or unsure. Visibility is where we will have the opportunity in terms of how and what type of resource we want to engage. So private gives us the opportunity to do by invite only. So in cases where you're making use of a known supplier or certainly to a pool of suppliers, then this is the option that we'll select. So that allows you to be particular about what suppliers you want to invite. There might be very niche requirements that have draw or call upon very niche skill sets. So in those cases, you might look to use either a known supplier or look to really pull that to a niche pool of suppliers that you've highlighted. Internally, we'll look to put that to our marketplace. So that's where you'll put the requirement to us. We'll then post this internally. That'll go out to the marketplace and align with any suppliers that have the relevant skill sets. That'll then present them with the opportunity to submit against that proposal or submit against that requirement. Public gives us a little bit more sort of realm to roam in that we can, in addition to pushing that requirement out to the marketplace, it also gives us the ability to put that onto sort of public spaces. So whether that be job boards or sort of links that will use social media by way of example. So that's really casting the net out quite far. There are sometimes cases where we'll have niche requirements where we'll need to do some promo around that and really sort of publicize that quite far. So those are your three options. Then whether it be a single supplier or more than one supplier, and then where does the supplier need to do the work from? Is it remote or is it on site with a location? You then got a markup, which will be automated in terms of your proposal. So any submissions you have for RFQs or invoicing will come already with your markup. Additionally, you can add custom advanced fields. So this really just gives us the opportunity to highlight key extracts of information that we want to pull through, and this will come through to your reporting. So things like sort of client information or account numbers, sort of cost codes that you might want us to implement for reporting purposes, who invoices are to be approved by, purchase order numbers, etc., are all to be input here, and that will pull through. You've then got sort of day rates or fixed rates. Now this gives us some flexibility around the delivery approach. Now, in a world where we work with so many different types of resource in so many different ways, it would be really a common shame to have only sort of one way to engage resource. So we have the flexibility around how we wish to do this. So whether it be a typical sort of day rate, or whether we're going with a fixed price or a fixed rate for a fixed price piece of work. With this also, we can have discussions around sort of risk profiles and kind of how far you want to outsource and sort of the management and control of those aspects. If doing with day rate, you can set your range. Fixed price, quite simply, is fixing your sort of budget envelope. We don't necessarily need to disclose budgetary information, but it is an option that we can present. So that's your posting of a project. So that will go out to only the sort of most closely aligned suppliers that have the relevant skill sets tagged. Or if it's through the known supplier route or by private invitation, that's by invitation only, where it's use of a known supplier or selected suppliers to present proposals against the requirement. So that there is the post a project option. If we then have some focus around suppliers, so this will show us some of the categories you have within that subcategories, which we can essentially align with the tags of suppliers. Time back into the supplier onboarding. Once suppliers are onboarded, they will tag themselves with the relevant skill sets. So this will align with anything or any skills tags that we've highlighted on the project when posting the requirement out. Within supplier profiles, you'll be able to have view of the very relevant experience. There is documentation that could be attached to it, whether that be certificates or otherwise, and then activity, which gives you a highlight of any engagements they're currently in and historic engagements. It does also give with suppliers the opportunity to create a talent pool. So as mentioned before, talent pools are really a strong opportunity for contracts and authorities to have essentially what might be seen as a PSL or a short list of suppliers that they'd wish to have on call for whenever a requirement comes up. Now we can build that talent pool as wide and diverse as you wish, or we can really niche that to particular areas of the business or organization. So this here will be your client view. So as mentioned before, simplified to the key things that you really want to have your focus on. So here you'll have a list of all projects that you're engaged with or have oversight on, which you can sort of change view on. So if they do sort of start to build up, then you can have a full listed view or the dashboard view of all the projects that are currently live. You can also see with that what contracts have concluded. The second view will be your invoices. So this will give you highlight of any invoices to date that have been raised and are requiring action. So you have the prompts against what needs to be actioned. You can view invoices via the download option. We'll come back to this shortly. In the main view, you'll have the system integration project as an example with the overview. So you have the description, some of the client information within the fields, cost codes, invoice approval, etc., along with the milestone completion bar. Any notices just below. So currently there's an overdue invoice, and then some of the sort of brief project information or tags. So duration of the project, budget of the project, and location. So when we discussed so in terms of the process when it comes to procurement, so you'll put out your requirements, and we'll discuss and liaise with yourself to do this. Once we've posted that project and put that out, if by example, through to the marketplace, that will then go through to align with any consultants that are eligible. So if you go within the project, and this will detail the first stage of it, if we go into, the suppliers tab, that will then show you any eligible suppliers. If we've invited any suppliers that are sort of on part of the onboarding or through the duration of onboarding, that will also highlight. So we may need to supplement the pool of suppliers that we have with those that have been shortlisted by yourself, or any that we decide should be part of the process. So you have view of the suppliers and what stage they're at. You'll also have view of any suppliers that have declined the invitation to propose. So with that, you'll also have sometimes instances where you'll ask us to shortlist. So it could be that we sense check it just to see if there are proposals that are far off the mark in terms of the expertise or skill sets required to deliver the piece, or if the price point is way off or skewed beyond where we want it to be. So that's where we would shortlist it. In shortlisting, so this is where we're looking at more of a stakeholder engagement piece. So if you've got stakeholder, or your stakeholder group is wider, but you want to involve them in the decision making or award of this, you can share a shortlist. So once we've selected green to shortlist, we can then share that shortlist with you. We can do this by way of email. So if you let us know what emails that needs to be sent to, or by way of a link. So we can have a link, copy that link, send that over to you. You can then share that link with any stakeholder you wish to involve. They do not require login details to do so. Simply follow the link. They'll be able to view the proposal and also the supplier profile. You've got the messaging center, which allows communication via messaging. If we go a step further, we can then see that we've had 3 submissions which we've shortlisted. Those 3 submissions can then be emailed or a link be sent. Once we've decided on which supplier, now there is the opportunity here to do further evaluation. So once you've kind of go through evaluation criteria or method statement questions, we can then choose to have whether that be sort of phone discussions or to go through presentation. So once we've offered, it's simply a case of contracting. So select contract, that will highlight the supplier that we're wishing to contract with. In order to do that, if we go back a step, once we've decided which supplier we want to award to, that's where we'll detail and sort of finalise after agreements and conversations on the duration of the project, the rates, the overall budget, and any milestones that we wish to build in. So milestones give us the opportunity to wrap around a little bit control around the commercials. So really a brief description around what needs to be delivered, the amounts and the sort of due dates. We can pin payment terms to deliverables. So this is where we will have, when it comes to invoicing from a supplier aspect, they can nominate which milestone they are invoicing against. Select the milestone, it will then give them the amount which is defaulted to, and then that will go through to us to sense check before going to the contracting authority for a final approval. Any special conditions or terms to be added, and then make offer. That offer will firstly go to yourself to sense check before going to the supplier to approve the work order. So hopefully that's simple enough. Once they've approved the work order, it will display as so. Once they've approved it, that then contracts and formalizes the agreement on the platform. We will back-to-back this or mirror this with actual contract documents in addition. And we'll ensure that that all mirrors and aligns each other nicely. Once the project is underway, you will then have view of the workspace. So this will be any questions between supplier and ourselves. You've also got any files that are attributed to the project and milestones that have been outlined with any budgets against them. You don't necessarily have to set budgets against the milestones. It could just be as a checkpoint on a monthly basis. But yes, the outline of the milestones, status of those milestones, completion. You'll also have that on the progress or percentage completed and remaining. And then any invoices historically raised or currently due for action. You'll also have the short toolbar at the top where you can see in a snapshot how far along your project has progressed. So that's the simple flow through of the project sort of life cycle. With this, we also have the ability for reporting. So it might be a useful tool to have things like milestone management, where you can see by calendar entry what you've got on the horizon, any sort of due milestones, any project completions that are pending or upcoming. You can also export that document. There are things such as spend reporting. In addition to this, what clients or contracting authorities will have is an MI, which will give you the full breakdown of spend, project updates. That could be specific to a consultant. It could be specific to a project area or a cost code or a business area. It could also give you the weighting as to whether your percentage of direct award or use of a known supplier versus further comp or competed projects. So that information will follow on a monthly basis. So that there wraps up, I hope, a short but sort of simplified view of the system tool. As mentioned before, hoping it's simplified in its use. The key things really for us is it's simple in use, gives you an overview and thus sort of a bit of control around your consultancy engagements. It also gives the ability to manage projects on a milestone basis, which you can pin to payment terms. It gives you things such as visibility of sort of completion dates and sort of calendar milestone and project completion calendars, and also the reporting and sort of finance behind it, which is backed up with sort of financial or MI reports on a monthly basis. So thank you for watching this video. Hope we'll hear from you soon around any questions that you might have, any sort of challenges or things that you might wish to discuss in sort of engaging us via the YPO Managing Consultancy and Professional Services Framework. Thanks and take care.